In this video, we'll look at how you use data feeds in your templates. Note, most of these instructions also apply to tickers. This tutorial assumes that you already have a data feed configured and ready to use, and the steps are the same regardless of the data feed type. Let's start with your layout. Templates can display data in individual fields or in tables. Tickers can display data in individual fields only. Individual fields are great for displaying information one record at a time, like the weather forecast for the next 3 days or a series of news items. You can format each field independently with different fonts, colors, or text alignment. You can also display a large field for images stored in your data feed. Tables, which we call data grids, can display entire columns of data. You can assign one or more column to a data grid. All the text within the grid will share the same typographic settings, color, and font. We're now going to lay out individual data fields in our template. With the Template Designer opened, click the Data Feed Manager tab on the right. Select the data feed from the pull-down menu. The list of available fields will appear below. Drag and drop any field into the template area. Position and resize the field as needed using your mouse. When you drop the field, you'll notice some tabs expand on the left of the Template Designer. These are all the options that control how the text will look and how it will behave. Select the typographic settings and color to achieve the desired look. Next, select the feed animation. This effect will be applied each time the text appears or refreshes on screen. You should only change the alphabet settings if the default Latin option isn't suitable for your needs. Other options are Asian and Arabic, which will change how the text appears on screen. The reading speed represents the pause time before the next record is shown. The pause time is based on the contents of the referent column that you selected in the Data Feed Manager. The more text there is to display in the referent column, the longer the text will be left on screen. The default reading speed value is set to 100%, and you can adjust the pause time by changing this value. Values below 100 will make the text remain on screen for a longer time. Values above 100 will make the text change quicker. By default, the field will display all the records in the data feed unless you restrict the scope. You can enter the start and end record in these fields. For example, you can show data from line 5 to line 10 or any other combination by modifying these values. Note these settings are also configurable in the Data Feed Manager. Don't forget to click Apply after making changes. The image checkbox is used to specify if the field is supposed to display images instead of text. This can also be configured in the Data Feed Manager. You can drag as many fields as you need into your template. You drag them over one at a time, and each field will use the same text settings you previously applied. This will save you a lot of time when working on complex layouts. Let's move on to data grids. We'll start with a blank template. Click the New Data Grid button on the left side of the Template Designer. A blank rectangle will appear in the middle of the template. This is the data grid area. You can resize and reposition it anywhere in your template. Drag and drop fields from the Data Feed Manager to populate the data grid. Don't worry if you make a mistake because you can always make changes later. To edit the contents of the data grid, double-click anywhere within its border. This will put the data grid in edit mode. You can resize columns by dragging their edges. To reorder the columns, click and drag them over to their new position. To delete a column, right-click it and select Remove. When you're finished, move your cursor over to the upper right corner of the data grid boundary and click the Hidden button. You're now able to move the data grid and edit its size. The zone, text, and data feed options on the left work the same as with individual fields. However, you can also change the number of lines and the height of each cell by modifying the values under the Data Grid tab. The default values are 7 lines and 77 pixels high, but you may change these values as you see fit. If you make the cell height tall enough, you can get the text within a cell to wrap. Otherwise, the text will fill the cell, pause on screen for a moment, and then the remaining text will be shown. The pause time is set via the referent column and can be tweaked by changing the reading speed value. Transition effects also apply to data grids. Here are a few helpful tips. Let's say you need to display multiple columns of data, but each column must have a different look. Like a menu, where the item list needs to be left justified and the prices are right justified. Or perhaps you want to use different fonts or colors for each column. Start by creating one data grid for each column. Drag over a data field into each grid and set totally different settings for each one. The data in both grids will remain fully synchronized. Here's another tip when you want to create multiple versions of the same layout but want to show different data feeds in each one. Start by creating the first template and organize all your data fields and data grids the way you want. Next, save your template. Duplicate the template you just saved by right-clicking its thumbnail in the content library and then select Copy. Right-click in the content library and select Paste. A duplicate copy will appear in the library. Double-click the thumbnail to open it. Before you go further, edit the template's name. Next, click on the field or column you want to link to a new data feed. Click the pull-down list and select the data feed you want to use. Now, click on the field you want to reassign. Click the Apply button to confirm. Repeat as needed. It's important to note you can assign different feeds to any number of fields and data grid columns. Your template can display multiple data feeds at the same time. This concludes our video on the Data Feed Manager. Be sure to visit www.navori.com for more information.